make it a little bit briefer, so just 30 seconds to a minute for each of you. And our question is really like coming here tonight, for some of you this might, not all of you, this might be the first time you're in the room with Somerville for Palestine. And just if you had any final thoughts you wanted to share, this question came from somebody who was on this stage as a candidate 1 year ago. And anything that has changed in your thinking on Palestine from your time being here with Somerville for Palestine tonight on this forum, or in general, what your time with Somerville for Palestine. So we can start it over here with Paul.
Thank you. So when I was deciding to become a candidate, one of the questions that was very early on was like, am I going to take a stance on this? Which I wasn't the most educated person in this, because again, the school committees were not writing ordinances around divestment. And then I went to the Metro for Palestine's showing of the voice of Hin Rajab, and that was, this was nothing compared to that. I didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I was traumatized for days, and I think that if you weren't, then you should see a therapist. But, and of course, there's this thing in school committees that we have a conference every year, and often we go. And the joke is that the second hardest job is being a school committee member. The first is being a parent. And anybody who is a school committee member who becomes a city councilor, they're always like, oh, this is so much easier. A state rep, even like senators in Congress, like they think it was harder to be a school committee member. And after watching that documentary, I feel like I can't even use that anymore, because watching that job really changed me and made me realize that like words matter a lot. And so I want to thank you all for being here, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Paul. I don't envy being a school committee member. So, tonight has really, reinforced something I already believe. That people in Massachusetts want, elected officials who are willing to listen, engage honestly, and act consistently with their values. And I believe that throughout my, time in public office, I've tried to lead by listening first. Anybody who knows me will tell that, and also consult broadly. I will talk to anybody, and making decisions based on principle rather than political convenience. I don't do that nonsense. So as an immigrant, also like somebody who came from Cameroon, I know what it means to see communities suffer. So from violence and instability. So that experience has strengthened my commitment to human rights, equal dignity, and accountability everywhere. So if I get elected, or maybe I should say when I get elected, I will continue, working to ensure that Massachusetts reflects those values, through transparency, ethical governance, protection of civil liberties, and respect for the humanity of every person, Palestinian, Israeli, and everyone else. So I just want to say thank you again for being here tonight. You guys make me proud, because this is how democracy thrive. Thank you.
So I've been in a lot of organizing spaces over the years, and for me, unequivocally, what S4P has built is one of the most immense organizing projects that the city of Somerville has ever seen. And for me, it brings me, in terms of what has changed me, it has really, what you all have organized around has also really called to question for me, what is drawing me to this work? What guides me to speak out and take the courageous step rather than the less courageous step? And also just what are our ties to this struggle for each of us? And for me, it's made me reflect a lot about being a Japanese American and thinking of the generational trauma, and my grandmother, who was a teenager during a time when Japanese civilians were being mass murdered indiscriminately with atomic bombs, with fire bombs, also in the name of national security that is still debated today, whether that was quote unquote strategic. And so I just think about those ties and how those traumas sort of reverberate, and that's what brings also all of us here to continue to do this work, because we don't do it because it's easy. We do it because it's deeply important to all of us on an individual and as a community level. And so really what you all have built here is one of the most life-affirming parts of being able to serve in public office, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Well, I agree with Rep. Eiderhoven that the work that Somerville for Palestine has done is truly extraordinary. And I've been active in politics in this city going back over a decade, and I think this is the most active and impactful movement in the city right now. And as we close, again, I want to say thank you to the organizers, thank you all for being here. And I'm really struck by the idea that I think if our federal elected officials had been doing their jobs, and in particular, if they had actually not turned away from the genocide, if they actually had been willing to engage in exactly the kind of conversation that we had this evening, then I don't know that we would be where we're at right now. And so this is what change looks like, this is what democracy looks like, this is what standing up for justice looks like. And as we continue to move forward, this is how we will make change. So thank you for having me, and let's continue.
We always end our evening all together up here on this stage for a picture, and we chant when we do that. So I'm going to invite everybody to come right up here, and you can hold up the signs. And yeah, it's a lot of people, because Somerville for Palestine always has a lot of people every